What's going on, ambitious vet? Thanks for diving into the trenches with us again this week as we seek to provide you the golden grenades you need to get yourself out of your own way and fuel your desire to make an impact post-military. This is your podcast built by veterans for veterans as we dive into the trenches with today's top subject matter experts, share inspiring transitional stories, and provide master classes to equip you to reach your full potential. Bottom line is, this is your place to go after immediate transition education expires.
Limiting beliefs. We have self-limiting beliefs. So there's something out there. I can't do that because. I need to transition out of the Marine Corps or out of the service and do something associated with my MLS or my specialty. That's a limiting belief. And this comes up a lot where folks, I'm currently working with a career transition individual. He says, well, I went to the webpage and I looked at this company and I thought, that doesn't fit. That's not a lot. I said, well, so my answer to him was, really, what gave you that impression? He says, well, just the way they present themselves. I said, that is that's a limiting belief.
Ambitious Vet, one of the many golden grenades you're going to hear in today's show with Gary Slyman, a retired Marine Corps officer now doing some amazing work in just the transitional coaching and training and development space, is you've got to build support systems around you. What I mean by that, as you're learning where your human capital gaps are in the marketplace, as you're looking to thrive in your ideal career path post-military, you've got to have the support systems. What's one thing that I could give you as far as a resource right now is I want you to go check out our free social media groups. Rather you consider yourself a professional, suit and tie on LinkedIn, we have a Facebook group there called LinkedIn group there called the Ambitious Vet Network. Or if you're just, want to have some informal conversations, everyday stuff, you can check out our free social media group on Facebook, the Ambitious Vet Network. It's been around since 2016, was actually one of 3 veteran support groups back when it was Veteran Empowerment Transition. We're very proud of that. Not really. But yeah, guys, we just want to make sure that you are just getting the social support that you need in the trenches of life. There inside that Facebook group or LinkedIn group, you're going to be able to make connections, learn from, and grow with other ambitious vets that are aspiring to make an impact post-military. I'll have both those links in the show notes below.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We are right back inside the trenches this week with Gary Slyman. Gary is a 23-plus year retired Marine Corps officer who carries 35 years of leadership experience into his latest role as the president and founder of Great Transition Strategies, a leadership development coaching practice. He believes leadership is the great differentiator. He assists clients to develop clarity on the direction to building a path forward based on a vision and goals aligned with their values. Gary, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I think we connected with mutual friends, and you just do a lot of work. You've done a lot of work as a commanding officer in the Marine Corps. You've worked with the Naval Academy and the academic world, and now you're doing some awesome work with like the Commit Foundation, so many other different projects, and just super excited to kind of unpackage your leadership experience, your tools, and some other really cool stuff of just how we can get out of our own way with self-criticism and self-judgment. Before we get to that topic, kind of fill the gaps inside the introduction. Let us know about who you are, Gary.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I actually grew up in New Jersey and was fortunate enough to get selected to go to the Naval Academy. And after that, Marine Corps for 23 years, EA-6B, Naval Flight Officer, so weapon system officer for the Air Force technology, not a pilot, but the air crew side of things, that aircraft jamming platform. So we go in with strikes, jam radars, that kind of thing. And then my last tour, I taught at the Naval Academy as a deputy director of the Ethics Center, which was great fun. And one of the reasons I went there is because I wanted to see if I could teach, if I really liked that, because I was thinking about doing that afterwards. So
Yeah.
found out I really enjoyed it. So that's what I did. Then when I retired, so I retired out of that position and became an administrator of a private independent school in the Baltimore area, focused on leadership development, which is kind of interesting.
Mm.
I got there pre-K through 5 is where it existed, and I grew the school 1 grade each year up to grade 12. Stayed on for 4 graduating classes, and then moved on and said, okay, I did what I needed to here. Now, what's next?
Mm.
And what was next for me, it's funny, as I was trying to figure it out, my daughter said, hey, Dad, I met this coach. You might want to talk to, you might be a decent coach. You might want to think about that. So so I listened to my daughter, and I looked into what it took to be a coach. Went to a program at Duquesne University, became a certified professional coach. January of, let's see, I guess that was 2016. I started my practice, and here I am now, 6 year plus later.
Mm.
That's what I'm doing full time, working now. I'm a solopreneur. I have some 1099s that work for me, and I just help people get better and get aligned with, and to help them end up where they want to be. So that's the Reader's Digest version. It might have been about 2-3 minutes or so.
No, I love it. I love it. It's funny how like sometimes our family members knows this more than us. So you went from teaching to coaching. What would be the difference in your mind? Not to put you on the spot here, but just like as far as teaching versus coaching, what's the difference for someone out there that's maybe like, I was a leader in the military, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to teach or coach. How would you describe the difference between the two?
Yeah, and I think, when we're thinking about the military, a lot of times we think, oh, I had mentors. Mentors knew something. They a lot of knowledge, trying to impart a lot of knowledge on you. I think mentors teach teachers, hey, I'm trying to impart this material on you.
Mm-hmm.
As a coach, I'm trying to help reveal yourself to yourself. So you have the answers. I believe that you have the answers in yourself, and I'm going to help you reveal them to yourself. So that's what I do. It's a lot of questions, a lot of digging to help you understand yourself better without me telling you what to do. Not a lot of advice given in coaching. So that's really the difference. I help you help you come to giving yourself advice. And sometimes we turn over some rocks, that are in the stream, and you're like, oh man, that's a squiggly thing. I might want to turn that thing back over. I don't like that. So that's kind of, so coaching, reveal yourself to yourself.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I think coming from the Marine Corps, both of us here on obviously here in Ambitious Vet, you're listening, whatever branch you were in. I mean, we were so ingrained to just talk at people, kind of teaching like, hey, this is your orders, go follow them. And then how much stuff you got to go through to learn how to set beside someone and ask right questions, which slows the entire execution process down, right? Which can really piss people off, right?
It does, because I mean, how many times have you seen the knife hand come out? People pointing to you. Here's what you got to do, and or people tell you, a senior NCO or an officer telling, all right, this is the way we're doing it. Well, as a coach, it's going to be all right. What do you think we should do?
Yeah.
So that's the difference there. So
yeah, you help people think for themselves, right? How do you discover the answer?
Yeah, think for themselves, think by themselves. Well, they're not necessarily thinking by themselves. I'm helping them think a little more and giving them other perspectives as well.
Kind of guiding them along the process.
Exactly. Yep.
Perfect. No, I love it. One topic that we were discussing offline, Ambitious Vet, and I'm excited to kind of talk more with Gary on is this idea of getting out of our own way, right? A lot of veterans that I talk to that come, have gone through our programs in the past or inside of our Facebook group or LinkedIn group or listen to the show, they're always just like, how do I get out of my own way, right? A lot of hard self-criticism, a lot of self-judgment, a lot of just a fear of like letting people down, right? Mm-hmm. Post-military. And it's a real topic that very few are, wanting to go after nowadays. Some are, but I mean, I'd love to just kind of hear your thoughts on this around and really paralleling it to how do we get all that shit out of the way on our path to becoming like a top performing leader.
Yep.
What are some initial thoughts with that, Gary?
Yep, some thoughts, and you see this a lot in coaching. We have limiting beliefs. We have self-limiting beliefs. So there's something out there. I can't do that because, I need to transition out of the Marine Corps or out of the service and do something associated with my MLS or my specialty. That's a limiting belief. And this comes up a lot where folks, I'm currently working with a career transition individual. He says, well, I went to the webpage and I looked at this company and I thought, that doesn't fit. That's not a line. I said, well, so my answer to him was, really, what gave you that impression? He says, well, just the way they present themselves. I said, that is that's a limiting belief and you need to figure out if that assumption's true. You need to test it. That's an untested assumption. It's like, oh yeah, that is. So a lot of times we limit ourselves without even knowing it because we're unwilling to test some assumptions because some biases we bring to the table. That guy looked at a web page, judged the book and said, I don't think so. Now he's in exploring that company a little bit to figure it out. So that's, a little bit of the self-criticism. So I think we have limiting beliefs and we need to learn to get out of our way. We need to open our aperture a little bit and ask ourselves, what's giving me that perspective? What's making me think that? So I think that's a starting point.
So just awareness. What I hear in that is just, hey, I was motor T operator in the Marine Corps. I got to get out and get my CDL license so I can drive UPS trucks.
Right. And there's a self-limiting belief right there. You just limited yourself. Where it could be, well, maybe I should be one of those Amazon folks that run. I have 15 drivers for me. Not that I'm driving, but I have 15 drivers for me because I could lead. Maybe you're limiting yourself. You're putting yourself up against a ceiling you shouldn't put yourself up against. So yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one, like just testing your assumptions, questioning them. Like, why are you jumping to conclusions? And
exactly.
That takes a lot to like slow down and gain that self-awareness.
Yeah, and I think, and that's one of the things when I think about coaching. So, right at the beginning, you said, I think leadership is a great differentiator. I think self-awareness is the greatest leadership trait that you bring to yourself. So if you want to get rid of the self-criticism, you need to become knowledgeable about yourself. So you need to be a student of yourself. How do you do that? Well, can you become self-aware? How can you become self-aware? What are my tendencies? What do I like? What are the things that motivate me? So I think that self-criticism, it's okay to critique yourself, but the criticism with that denigrate yourself is you got to get away from that. Critique after action. How'd I do with this? Okay. You think through it. I should have done this better. I could have done that. This is what went well. Critique's okay. Criticism, just takes you down. So building your self-awareness is what I think is the most important thing you can do to develop yourself as an effective leader. Yeah. Those are my thoughts.
Would I hear that from a commanding officer on the other side here, Ambitious Vet, Gary, is that, really you've got to learn how to slow down and ask yourself difficult questions. But I believe on the other flip side of stuff, when you are asking yourself, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Gary, is like when you are asking those difficult questions, sometimes you can be a little bit too self-critical and ask yourself the wrong questions that could also, dig you a hole that's hard to give out. So what's like a framework or a tool that you use that you've used with previous transitioning, aspiring top performers that are, wanting to figure out how to gain self-awareness, don't see the value in it, but are just kind of like, hey, how do I slow down enough, ask myself the right questions or whatever the framework is? What's been proven to work for you?
Yeah, and I generally work, a framework that I have, it's based on, the framework, I take a look at how do I change someone's behavior? And I will have them, number one, where do you want to be? Help them create a vision for themselves, right? Where do you ultimately want to end up? And so they build a picture, but you got to be realistic about this picture too. Okay. I'm not going to play in the NBA. I'm 5'6", 150, 60 pounds. Okay. It's not. So build a realistic vision. Okay. Build a vision and then back up. And now comes the self-awareness part. Okay. Assess yourself. Where am I now? Where am I now? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my values? What's really important to me? So you can take a look at those things. And I help people build that picture of who they really are and measure the gap. That's where I want to be. This is where I am, and incremental steps. So that's kind of the framework that I take a look at with everyone in some respect. It's not cookie cutter. It's a case for each. I meet you where you are. I'll say, you're in some kind of transition right now. Maybe it's with growing your business. Okay, Chris, what's your vision 6 months, a year down the road? Well, this is where I think I want it to be. All right, where are you now? Okay, what are the gaps to get there? Let's build some goals. And then we iterate. Let's change some behaviors to help you get there. And we'll work on that together.
Yeah, no, and that's so good because Ambitious Vet, anybody, even myself, that's looking for a transition or a pivot or next stage of milestone in my company, if you're a mid-level manager in your job, you're looking to accelerate your gaps and becoming an executive leader or taking on this next big project internally, it is like, it's so hard to figure out what the goal is, where you're at, and assess the gaps in your own personal leadership, right? And we don't want to face it. We just want to execute and think that, an invisible feedback loop will tell us how to pivot as we're executing, in some ways, shape or fashion. I know I have fallen victim to just, hey, I'm going to execute, and then the feedback loop will just tell me how to pivot as I go, but I have no perspective in my life and I'm completely reactive and it's exhausting.
Exactly. What I mean? Yeah. So your whole point is, okay, build it. What's the target? Where am I going? And as you look at, all right, this is where I want to be. Where am I today? Let's work through it. And this is really, coaching is really about behavior change. So you want to stop being critical of yourself. Where do I want to go? What are the behavior changes I need to make to get where I'm going? And the other thing, you need help doing this. You're not going to do this necessarily by yourself. A large part of this is that you have someone to help you along the way. So what are the key relationships that are going to help you? It might be a boss, might be a peer, might be a subordinate that's going to do that with you. But how do you do that? You're talking about self-criticism. Well, let's get the feedback we need, and coaches help you play better. Someone's going to help you play better. How can I play better? Someone needs to give me some feedback. Work with some folks. And who to key, as you think about, if you talk to the listeners now, who's around you, left and right, above you, below you, that can really give you the feedback you need. So here's something. I was working with the CEO of a company, and they're really frustrated with the feedback they were getting from the company, the picture they were building of where things were surprised. He was surprised by something. And we talked about how what he came to was a metaphor of, hey, my picture of my leadership is really a jigsaw puzzle. And the pieces are given to me by people who want to give me just those pieces. So I have to go out and look and find those pieces. So if you want a picture, people are going to give you only the pieces they want. You got to go out and find the rest of them to build a picture, so that way it's realistic. You don't have holes. I thought, so his mission was, okay, I'm going out every day here. I'm going to build a picture of what this is really like, what my organization's like. And I'm going to build that picture. So I thought that was a pretty interesting way of looking at it.
Wow. I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing, putting a jigsaw puzzle together, having people come to you with what they want and maybe not fully transparent with what's going on in the organization? Is that necessarily a good or a bad thing?
Well, so let me give you it. Well, it is what it is. That's what people are giving you. If you want a realistic picture, they have to be willing to give that to you. So what's that telling you about your organization if you are not getting the real picture from folks?
Right.
So I think in some cases that's a reflection on us. So there's some self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right. Like, wow, why? So what is making them not give me the true picture here, or give me only this piece of the picture. If we're going to be a really good organization, maybe I need to change something as a leader here, something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, because what I hear in that is like, okay, maybe inside of having a coach, in the context of a coach and also, getting out of your own way to become a top performer, maybe in that moment you're so hard on yourself, maybe you have such self-critical thoughts or whatever it may be, that in that moment, whoever's giving you a marketing report, HR report, whatever it is, if you are a senior leader, or mid-level manager leading some frontline supervisors, maybe you're beating yourself up so much that people don't feel that openness from you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like the openness, you know what I mean? Cause I mean, and I've had to deal with that tough feedback early days of getting out of the Marine Corps, being a mid-level manager inside of an organization too. Is like, I was at one point afraid to look incompetent. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Imagine trying to be around someone that's afraid to look incompetent. Oh my God. You know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah, and then it's like, oh, I need to have the answers. Well,
Mm,
maybe they'll respect you more by saying, I'm not sure. What do you think? Because in reality, the NCOs and the people turning wrenches, I was an aviator. I didn't know how to fix an airplane. And, so, I mean, but those folks that are doing the work, they know what's going on.
mm,
They know what's going on there. So here's something I would give you. So you want to look incompetent. Someone comes to you, you don't know something. You probably have a trigger. So think of some triggers that you have.
yeah. An
Something.
ambitious vet, think of your own in this situation for sure.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
So put yourself in a situation where someone comes to you with something and you get this trigger. Oh, I don't know. That trigger's telling you something. What is that trigger telling you? So if you want to stop being self-critical, like, okay, what is that trigger telling me? I don't like hearing this bad news. Is that a show of my incompetence?
Mhm.
What is that trigger telling me? And
Yeah.
I think what 90% of the time it tells you is you're out of alignment with something. There's some value that's not being fulfilled. Your point, I'm out of alignment. I'm not what is it? And when you can come to grips with it, you can kind of lean back a little bit and go, okay, I'm out of alignment with that. Why am I out of alignment? What am I out of
Yeah.
alignment with? What do I need to do to get myself back in alignment? So that way I can execute the way I need to here.
Yeah. And when you speak on alignment, are you speaking on like values, goals, vision along that process?
Yeah, I start with values. I think all of them kind of need to line up at some point, but I think it starts with values. So
Yeah.
it's a case, if someone, so think of when you're triggered, someone comes to you and gives you some bad news, and you get that feeling, okay, I'm triggered. You're out of alignment with someone. Or let's just say you saw someone speak really harshly to someone. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you get this trigger, like, oh man, that is not good.
Yeah.
You're out of alignment with the way that person was treating that individual. If you're okay with that, you're in alignment with that person getting their butt chewed, right? So that's telling you something about you. You value how people are treated, or if they're being treated like that. So
Mm,
that means something's out of line. So I think it's alignment with your values. And the more you can work and the more you can create an organization that's aligned with your values, or be in an organization that's aligned
yeah.
with your values, the easier it's
Yeah.
going to be to do everything you do every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I even see in that context that you're sharing too there, Gary, is that, you know, that's what leads to potential self-criticism and self-judgment as well too, right? Is
Mhm.
like not being aligned and then making yourself upset or making yourself wrong, that you're just like, man, like what's going on here? Why is this not going as easy as you'd want it to go, or whatever, right? Because at the end of the day, we all want mission accomplishment, but we're unwilling to kind of weed out the stuff like we're talking about here, right?
Yep.
Like keeping ourselves aligned, not being triggered. In my case, when I was in the corporate world, it was, I was afraid to bring in subject matter experts because I was a sales trainer for a marketing software company, and bring other top earners and stuff like that to teach the curriculum, because I was afraid I was going to like lose my job or something, right? By someone else
Yep.
coming and teaching, right? And I was like, man, hold on, I'm the content deliverer here, right? So, at Ambitious Vet, I'm just telling one on myself, but you have your own story with this thing. You have your own assumptions.
Yep.
And if you're really honest with yourself, you would know, you would know what that is for you, what that trigger is, what has you be stopped in becoming a top performer. But I think what Gary's making a point here is like, that's where a coach comes in to keep you aligned consistently.
Yep.
Staying aligned with your goals, with your vision, with your values, to make sure you're not out there getting triggered and you're knowing how to be the top performer that you're committed to being.
Yep.
Gary, I mean, over there with you, I mean, what has been some of the trends? And then we'll kind of pivot towards the last segment of the show. But I'd love to kind of just hear some examples of other leaders that you've coached, because I'm sure at this point you've probably had over hundreds, or if not thousands, of hours of coaching under your belt, both in the Marine Corps and outside of it. What's been some of the trends that you've seen, and self-criticism and self-judgment, and then what are some best practices to get ahead of it as an ambitious vet's listening to this and looking to stay, just unstuck in life?
Yep. And one, I'd say, I think you always need a destination. So you kind of need a vision of where you're going, something that we talked about. And I base all this, so we started earlier, intentional change theory is the basis that I use, or the science behind my coaching. Intentional change theory. Understand where you're going, understand yourself. And I think in understanding yourself, I'm going to go back to values, because that's what motivates you. That's what's important to you. So that example you just gave, you're delivering the content. I'm going to assume that, hey, I needed to be the expert. I need to deliver expert content, and I need to be the one. Yeah. So but now you ended up bringing in subject matter experts, is the way I'm taking what you said. I brought in subject matter experts. It's okay, I didn't know, but I was responsible for delivering content. And I came to grips, it didn't have to come out of my mouth. Right. It's okay to bring subject matter experts in there to deliver. They're getting what they need. But it took a while for you to get aligned there, is my thought. Am I close?
Exactly. Before, I was afraid. I was fearful to, lose my job, or afraid to look incompetent. And then afterwards, it was a lot less effort, but I looked like a better leader by supporting leaders. It was crazy.
Yep. Yeah, and in some cases, you're pushing a rope trying to become a subject matter expert in that area. You're like, I'm not good at this thing. I can't do. I'm just not good at it. All right. Yeah. And why am I spending all this time? I need to work at what I'm good. I'm good at making connections, bringing in good folks. Yep. So for me, to go along with, so what's important? I think the most important thing is really come to grips with your values, number one, and define them. And so defining them is, so I'll give you just a quick example. I ask you, hey, Chris, what's your number one value? You tell me, respect. Okay, define it. Maybe you define it as, hey, equal respect for everyone in the organization, wherever they are. Okay. And I say, hey, that's interesting. Mine is respect too, but it's actually, my definition of it is giving deference to the top dude in the organization, the top guy or gal. Now, we both said our top value is respect. However, your definition, which is actually the behavior to get that fulfilled, is different than mine. So you're going to see me, I'm going to look like a butt kisser. I'm just giving deference to who's ever at the top. And you're like, I'm dissing people below me. And you're like, what the heck? What's wrong with Gary?
Yeah.
He said respect is his most important value, but look what he's doing. Well, we both have different definitions. So you need to know what your value is, and you need to define it, because that's the behavior you expect. Because when you see it, you're going to get triggered. You're going to be like, what? That bugs me. When you're triggered, that's usually a message to you that something's out of alignment with my values. What is it? Let me come to understand what that is. So I think that those vision where you're going and understanding what motivates you and what puts you out of alignment.
Yeah. And that's inside of, you said, intentional change theory.
Yes. Yep.
That's very cool. Yeah.
So the point is, big vision where you want to go, understand yourself. If you don't understand yourself, you're not going to get there. So understand yourself, and then what's the gap between the two, and then iteratively work on that gap to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
Iteratively, small incremental progress.
Yeah. And I hear like a thread throughout this whole episode too, of you just sharing, like, there's a reality component of it, right? And there a lot, as ambitious vets get out of the uniform, and as I'm sure you've learned through your consulting with Commit Foundation and just, obviously spending 20 plus years in the Marine Corps as a commanding officer, you know, there's like veterans get out and they have this huge sense of ambition, goals, and just they get struck by the reality of things, right? They like things, they want things, but they're unable to kind of start thinking for themselves to hit that rubber, hit the road, right? And it sounds like this intentional change theory can help them kind of get connected to the reality of things versus just going after things because someone on social media that they look up to likes it. You know what I mean? Or something like that, right?
Right.
Let's be real. We all deal with that.
Someone said to you, hey, Chris, I think you'd be a great trainer. Oh, I should go and be a great. No. Choose what you want to be and then and get there. The worst people to ask for advice on what you need to do when you get out is someone who's in. There's plenty of senior officers and NCOs that say, hey, you know what you need to do when you get out? This is what you need to do. You haven't even been out there yet, right? So you haven't spent the day out of the uniform yet. So you're telling me what I need to do. This is a case of, hey, Chris, what are you thinking? How are you thinking of using your skill set? What are some of your thoughts to help you build your vision of where you want to be, to help you come to that, as opposed to folks directing traffic?
Yeah. And if you would have asked me that when I first got out of the Marine Corps, I'd have been like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about for skill sets.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, and that's knowing yourself. So even, sitting down and what am I good at?
Yeah.
And when I work with folks, I go through some exercise to help them reveal themselves to themselves. It's a case. Let's kind of do an exercise or two. And then we're like, oh, I never really thought of that. So.
Right. No, that's so cool. And I could talk about this for hours. I think you already know that from our previous conversation. This is so interesting stuff, ambitious vet. And I'm sure that you're getting a lot up for yourself as well. And if you want to learn more about Gary Slyman and all the content, I mean, he's posting blogs, he does group coaching, one-on-one coaching, does a lot of awesome stuff to help with people in all kinds of different transitions, not even military transitions, just different transitions in life, and does a really good job at doing it. But Gary, I mean, to kind of sum this show up, the last segment of the show, there's an ambitious vet that's out there in the trenches of life that's been out for a few years out of the military and has realized that immediate transitional tools like interview prep, resume writing, and just job fairs and stuff like that, that all has a shelf life, right? And they're kind of at the point where it's just like, all right, I know how to get basic needs met, but what's the next step? Like, what would be one last save round, or golden grenade is what we call it, that you would do to kind of inspire, encourage that ambitious vet to break through the new levels of satisfaction in their life?
Yep. And I think, and that's a really good question. And it took me a while to kind of get there myself. And I think I got it when I went through coach. I would have been a much better officer and leader if I would have got coach training while I was on active duty. So I learned once I learned how to be a coach, I learned how to be a spectator of myself. So picture a bug on the wall watching what you're doing, and then kind of after action yourself said, what did that third party see? And what made me do that? What was the reaction to what I did? And is that the way I really wanted things to work? So if you could be a spectator of yourself, you say, hey, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I drive up to work, this job I have, I'm getting paid well, the people are okay. But if you drive up and you put your head on the steering wheel and you're like, before you go in, you'd be a spectator of yourself. Okay, what's wrong with that guy? What's wrong with that gal? So be a spectator of how happy you are, how aligned you are. Are you really being fulfilled with what you're doing? I think once you start spectating yourself a little bit, you realize, hey, I'm really good at this. I really like doing this. Here's the things I really like doing. Here's some things I think I need to change, and maybe here's a direction I need to go in. But I think being a spectator of yourself is something that's really helped me. And that came to me from as I was going through coaching school, working with a client. That's how it came to me, someone I was working with.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. I think if, an ambitious vet gets anything out of this show, like being able to slow down enough to reflect on situations, just being able to do that and catch themselves when they're self-criticizing, catch themselves when they're doing that self-judgment stuff that just gets us into a negative state, man, that really slows us down, and we don't even know why we get in there, and it can spiral if we don't have a coach, right?
Yep.
So that's a great segue, Gary, to where can Ambitious Vet go to learn more about your great transitional coaching, your group coaching, and stuff like that? Where can they go learn more about you?
Yep. Greattransitionstrategies.com. So I have a website there. On there, you can see all my social media connections that I have. Facebook, LinkedIn are where I spend most of my time on those two, mostly LinkedIn. So you connect with me. Folks connect with me. I'm happy to, I always give folks at least 30 minutes, sometimes an hour of hey, I'm really interested in doing this. I want to before I coach, I want to make sure we're a fit. And we talk, and I help a lot of folks kind of get started. I got a meeting set up for tomorrow. Someone contacted me today. Hey, I heard you do some transition stuff. Okay, let's talk, and we'll see if we're a fit. And a lot of times I spend 30 minutes, and I coach for the Commit Foundation. That is veterans that want to in their transition, get transition assistance, resume help, all kinds of things to help you understand yourself better. Coaching is one of the pieces of it. If you're accepted into that program, they don't accept everyone that comes in. Coaching is part of it. I coach for them. Great opportunity. Before I ever coach a vet that they're going to pay me, I always refer them to the Commit Foundation to see if you can get accepted there first, before you pay me any money directly. Go see if you can be completely scholarship and get it paid for. So that's one thing I'll always send folks in that direction. So Great Transition Strategy, Facebook, LinkedIn, my YouTube page. You see all those. Every Monday morning, I do a 5-minute, 8:30 on LinkedIn. I do a live session, a stand-up meeting, 5 minutes to get your week off to a great start. I do a little thing on leadership, 5 minutes.
I need to go check that out. I did read one of your recent blogs around dancing. Oh man, that was good. I really like the dancing one.
Yep.
Perspective of looking at dancing and dancing on the dance floor. Ambitious Vet. I encourage you to go check that one out for sure.
Yep. As a leader, you need to be able to be on the dance floor and on the balcony at the same time.
Great analogy, metaphor, whatever you call that damn thing. Really good stuff.
Yep.
So Ambitious Vet, make sure you go check out Gary Slyman, our 23 plus year Marine Corps officer, turned academic minded man, now doing some amazing stuff with Great Transitions Strategies.com. Go and check out everything he's got going on so you can make sure you're staying unstuck. More specifically, this episode, find ways that you can get out of your own way so you can consistently hit black every time, like you were on the rifle range. Or for your pizza boxes, maybe not so much. But hey, if you're looking to be an expert, make sure you go check out Gary's work and make sure how to hit black in your life. Take care.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Ambitious Vet, before you go and make sure you go do the very thing that we as veterans suck at, and that's go join one of our free Facebook groups, free social media groups such as Facebook or LinkedIn. Both the links will be in the show notes below. We suck at building social support systems around difficult situations as we pursue goals, deal with daily obstacles in life as we're looking to get better at whatever it is we're trying to do, work, family, finance, you name it, right? I don't know what your life looks like or what you're struggling with, or if you just want to come in and have some dark sense of humor like veterans like to do. I would prefer a Facebook group in that case. But if you are also a professional that's looking to network with other veterans that have been out in the civilian sector for a while, go check out the Ambitious Vet Network. Social groups both on LinkedIn and Facebook, and make sure you get inside those trenches and really start asking questions and adding value. And I promise you, someone's going to step up and help you hit that next big milestone in your life. Until next week, Ambitious Vet, hold the vision and trust the process. Take care.